I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Zee Garcia.
And today we're taking a look at 3 different two-player games, although at least 2 of them can be played solo. No, well, 1 of them can be played solo.
Yes.
Anyway, we're going to take a look at 3 different two-player head-to-head style games that are fairly unique-ish, I would say.
Yeah, I think so. They each have their own thing.
All right, so here we go. The first game is Sirens. Sirens is a 1 or 2-player game in which you are making the best song to allure people to their death. Doesn't say it down here, but I feel like that's what you're doing.
That's the idea. I do that as frequently as I can.
Here's a quick overview of how it plays. In this game, you'll get a scoring card where you keep track of your points. Players will be playing through a deck of cards that show some musical notes on them and some other things, some colors at the bottom. And what players are going to do is, at the beginning of each round, you're going to turn over a card, and you're only going to look at the symbol on the bottom. You're going to find that symbol here, and it's basically going to tell you a special rule for that round. Then players are going to draft cards. You'll take 4 cards, you'll pick one, pass a 3 to your neighbor. Your opponent, they'll pick one, pass them back to you, and you're eventually going to have 3 cards. After you collect these 3 cards, you're going to put these cards in front of you, and you can put them in any order you want, and this is called your route. After you do that, you'll draft 3 more cards, which you'll add, but they have to go before or after on your route here. Then once players have cards here, they're going to score. The first thing you'll do is you'll look at how many hearts you have at the top, and whoever has more hearts, not only do they score first, but they're going to get points equal to the difference in hearts. So here I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My opponent only has 3 hearts. 6 minus 3, I would get 3 points. You're also going to get points if you pair different things. You'll see there's half of symbols here. So if I put these 2 halves together, I'm going to get points for pairing those together. You also get points for putting out a sun and a moon eclipse together. You'll also get points for having cards. You'll notice that each of these cards, this is blue, red, blue, red. If I make a color go into the next color, if it moves into the next color, I will get extra points. So if I, for example, have this blue-red move into a red, and then that red-yellow moves into a yellow, I'll get points for that. But I also get points for having a bunch of cards that are the same color in a row. But only if the number of points for that is if I have at least 3 colors in my song in total. So those are the different ways for points, and like I said, there's also a universal rule, which is going to do it each size 1 song. So each size 1 of the same color is going to give you -1 point. So you want at least 2 of each color together, or whatever you might have these special rules in play. And whoever has the most points is going to be the winner. There's also a way to play this solo, where you're playing against an AI opponent. All right, this is a pretty small game. It's in a small box, but I mean, I think just 18 cards.
Right, yeah. It's kind of like a button shot game, just 18 cards. You draft them, right? And then you stick them together in front of you and try to score for like 4 different things, right? These 2 halves, score that. Little hearts, majority. The colors leading into each other, progression, scoring. And then there's even like a special rule at the beginning of each round that changes that.
Yeah, the special rule's a little wonky.
I agree.
To throw in. I almost wish they said play without the special rule. Now throw it in.
Yeah. It's weird because this one I find to be a very nice production. I think the cards look interesting. They have a neat look. The whole thing has a neat look and a neat theme. It's cool. You know, the ship of what's his name?
Odyssey, Ulysses.
Orpheus, the ship of Orpheus or whatever, and the whole thing has a cool vibe to it, but I find the game simultaneously too slight, like there's very little going on, and a little more convoluted than I would want it to be.
This is one of those games where I wish it was 36 cards.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just the limitations are making it feel very slight. And the game, though, has, like, special rule. You score for this. You do that. Don't forget this. The colors. This leads to that. I'm like, oh, boy.
I liked it better with 2 than with 1 because I felt like the game cheated to make the solo player better.
Okay.
Which I thought was kind of, okay, fine. Because solo player is kind of just randomly, but they do things like the solo player will always do this. They'll always connect with their card, and they get more hearts than you or whatever. I'm like, well, okay, fine. It was fine, but I think playing solo was good because I was thinking, okay, I need to deprive Z of getting this card.
I agree. I think the two-player drafting in this has a nice amount of forward thinking.
I also really like the look of it a lot.
Yeah.
I like connecting the notes and making a little song. I haven't tried to play them out on the piano to see if they work.
Well, there is. I just looked this up, actually. There's an app that you can download, and you can scan the cards, and it'll play the song, okay? So hold on. Two things. Apparently it's not working very well from the comments. And two, after you download it, the very first thing it wants you to do is sign up. And I'm like, nah, fool. I'm not creating a new login and sign up for something that takes a picture and plays a couple notes. That's all it does. If you're going through the trouble of doing that, goodness, also make the thing score. That's Zelda. Stop it.
I'm very curious how that works. All right, so for me,
maybe you can do it.
For me, this is a 7. I enjoyed it a lot, but I don't think it has long legs for me. Like, I'll play it. It's a good time, and I enjoy it. I thought it was fun. I like the theme a lot, the production, and the two-player, and you could play it solo. And then, I don't know how much I'll think about it in the future, unfortunately. That's not a negative against it. That keeps it from being great for me.
Yeah. For me, it gets a 6. I think it's a lovely production, like you said. I just find the game to be one that's going to stay on the shelf when I'm reaching for a tiny, punchy, two-player card game. The scoring in this one, the scoring was fine. The special rule was of every round having like one unique thing that messes with the game. I thought to be maybe one step too far. The drafting is interesting, but that was kind of the highlight for me. So it's okay. I enjoyed it fine. I'm giving it a 6.
All right, Confusing Lands is our next game here. From the same publisher. I do believe it's a different designer, though.
Yeah, it is.
This is a quick, puzzly two-player card game about creating wacky, floating islands. So, let me show you. In this game, there's a bunch of landscape cards, and players are going to be building a landscape in front of them, and as you play cards in your landscape, you have to cover up at least one spot in the landscape already, although you can't cover up these rules. Every card has a rule on the other side, and the way the game is going to work is you're going to draw 2 cards, you're going to pick one, keep it and play it. I picked this one, and then pass it to your opponent who will pick and play it. And you can add more scoring things to your area. And each of these scoring things will score you points at the end of the game. So, for example, this one here gives you 4 points for your longest river. So, this is 12. That seems great, but every scoring thing you subtract 10 from. So, right now, that's only giving me 2 points. So, I can't play that there because then I would cover up that scoring. Well, now it's getting better. So, there's lots of different scoring mechanisms in this game. Let's take a look at a couple of them. So this one here is the Great Prairie. You get 2 points for each space in your largest group of connected empty spaces. This one here is called the Circle of Life. You get 6 points for each set of 1 wolf space and 1 elk space in your landscape. And so there's a lot of different rules here. The rule book has a whole section explaining what they do. And after you've done all the cards in the game and split them between landscapes, you'll score each of these minus 10 each, and whoever has the most points is the winner. So this game is an interesting game that I like a lot. Like, I love the idea of, hey, you're going to score, and you're also trying to score in different ways and put things together. And I enjoy it a lot, and I especially enjoyed it when it was called Sprawlopolis.
Yes. This is very, there's, you can't ignore that comparison. If you're aware of Sprawlopolis.
It's really similar.
All of its spin-offs. This is clearly in the same vein. I mean, it's right there with it. 18 cards.
18 scoring rules.
The scoring rules. There's a couple of different things. Well, for one thing, this is not cooperative, right? You're playing against me.
So I could take a card that I know you need.
Right. There's also one rule that we're both scoring. There's a shared scoring rule. and then you can create as many scoring rules for yourself as you want to, which I think is a really fun balance, actually, this idea of how many is too many. You know, you want to kind of do them early, so it's like, okay,
I can tell you 4.
4 is too many,
Many.
If you commit to something early, that's great. You'll have the whole game to kind of work on that. But sometimes, you can say, okay, I might maybe one more scoring rules. I'm kind of working towards this one anyway. I like that balance. The cards are vibrant. The whole thing looks really neat. I will say this. I think some of the scoring rules are a little weird. They're a little clunky.
I was going to say the same thing. I think they're a little clunky, but I think even more than that, when I look at these scoring cards here, I can't for the life of me remember what most of them even do.
Yeah.
The symbology, whoever did it, didn't do a good job at using the symbols to explain it, and then there's not a card in here that is a quick explanation. So you got to, where is it, on the back of the rules here, you have all of them. That's a lot of text for a small card game with all those different rules that are in here, the 18 different rules.
Right.
Yeah, this one's a tricky one for me because I like it a lot. Mm-hmm. It's not as good as Sprawlopolis, but it does some things better. Like you said, it's 1 versus 1.
Yeah.
And that's involved there. So I like it. I wish it had more cards. I say this every time we get one of these 18 card games. Like, why are they slavishly devoted to 18? This could have been 36 cards or something. Right. And I would have enjoyed it just as much, even if you said only play with 24 or whatever. I don't know, but I'm saying I want to build out a little map and stuff, but it's a nice, enjoyable thing. But it's just shy for me. It's a 6.5. It's just missing what I'm looking for in this. Although I do like how it looks.
Interesting, yeah. I liked this one. I'm giving this one a 7.5. I really enjoyed it. I think it's a little derivative. I get that. I like the head-to-head nature of it. I enjoy the scoring in this. It sings. It's a nice little pocket game. I think what it does well, and it gives me the return on the time investment. It takes like 10 or 15 minutes. Is good. It's a very puzzly, enjoyable game. I think that's a tricky balance to find. Doing a lot with a little. I don't know if I would say this one does a lot with a little, but it does more than I expect.
There you go. That's Confusing Lands. Now we're taking a look at a game called Tether, which I think in this game we're all stuck in outer space.
For some reason.
Yeah,
actually, I have no idea what the theme of this game is or why it is what it is. It's a weird one.
You know what? This game reminds me of way back in the day of a game from James Ernest called Falling.
Yeah, where you're a goblin or a person falling.
You're falling out of this plane. You just want everyone else at the ground before you. Here, everyone's just tethered in space, and up is down. Remember, the enemy gate is down. This is a game that the whole concept is, hey, cards it's an 82 and a 28.
Right.
Let me show you. This game comes with a deck of cards, 53 cards, numbered from 1 to 98. How's that possible? Because every card is the reverse. It's a 10 or it's a 1, a 73 or a 37. So there's 2 different numbers on most of the cards. Not every card, because the palindrome number is 88, are still an 88 this way. What you'll do in this game is you're going to have 3 cards placed out here. These cards are adrift, and then each player is going to have a hand of 5 cards. On your turn, you can either set someone in your hand adrift by putting them out here. You then can take one of these cards in your hand or the top card from the deck, or you can play cards. Regardless of what you do, you'll then also draw a card from the top of the deck and put it in your hand as long as you have 6 or less cards. When you play a card in front of you, one player is going to be horizontal, one player is going to be vertical. So let's say I play an 8 and I am the vertical player. I also, whenever you play a card, you have to attach one card to it. That card can come from my hand, it can come from over here, but here's a 9. I'm playing the 9 here. If I was the horizontal player, I would play the 9 here, but I can play the 9 like this, and I also have the 7. I could play the 7 here. So you can see this is going to start taking up some space on the table. Now, later on, somebody else can connect the cards together too. So you'll see here that all these cards, 7, 8, 9, but my opponent is looking at 90, 80, and 70. So what my opponent could do is, if they draw a card that fits in that, or even I could do it. But let's say my opponent played 69 in front of them. They could then take this whole group and attach it. So you're going to have multiple groups of cards out on the middle of the table. So, right here is this, but later on, I might play 25 and then 26. That's another group. But whenever you play a card, you then can attach cards from here, cards from my hand, or groups to that card, or to something that I just attached to that card. And all the cards that I attach and everything are going to be making groups. When a group gets to be 6 cards or greater, or 10 cards or greater, or 14 cards or greater, we score it. So let's say this was a group here, and pretend, forgetting everything else that's in it, let's say, actually 62, no, these don't fit in that group. But let's say this was a group. It looked like this for some reason. And it's 6 cards. We now score it. So I, as the vertical player, am going to get 3. The horizontal player is also going to get 3. But if I can get a group to score that looks like this, I'm going to get 5, and they are only going to get 2. So you're going to keep track of the points here on the side as every time a group scores. So when a group gets to 10, you score. When a group gets to 14, you score. If a group gets to 14, that also ends the game. The game also ends if you go through the whole deck, or if one person has 6 more points than the other person. And that's how you play. Phenomenal artwork in this game. Big kudos. I don't know if they're all different. I don't know if every card is different, but there's
it felt
ton
like
of artwork in there.
It felt like it, and it is really lovely style of illustration. Completely over the top and unnecessary in this game. I mean, so I can't remember the last time I saw so much amazing artwork so unnecessarily. But yes, I agree. It's lovely. I hope they use it for something else too.
Yeah, I think they're all different, but I mean, if they're not. And so the game is this weird concept. The card quality is very good too, I should mention. But there is one thing that you need to know going in. Don't play this on a card table. Yeah. Or a desk table. You are using the whole table. There's a lot of space in this one.
And that's definitely one of my negatives. This game is a huge table hog. Yeah.
For some reason, it doesn't bother me. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to be honest, I really like this game a lot. I don't know what it is. I like the concept of building these grids out there and trying to set it up so they connect. The connecting of cards and the connecting of groups is very Rummy Cube-esque. Mm-hmm. But not as... I don't think this game is particularly thinky, though. You're sitting there
it's not,
trying to play a card, but...
It's not about coming up with it's not about being clever. It's about just literally the visual acuity of seeing, I'm holding the 57 and there's the 58. That doesn't take any thought. You know how to count already. It's more spotting the thing. That's really what it is.
Yeah, and there's other things you can do. You can save some cards in your hand.
Sure.
And you don't want to maybe put something out, then your opponent will hold that card. So you're kind of trying to get your opponent to get rid of a card that you need to pick up. Yeah. So there's a little bit of that. Yeah. But the rest of it is putting things together. I thought the scoring works pretty nicely. This one's very long. Well, I'm never going to make it wide then at all. So that's never going to get connected. Even if I could connect that to my thing, I'm not going to because that just gives you points to you. So that's with the theme and also the speed of the game. I think the game's going to end, when the deck runs out no matter what. Mm-hmm. So it's not going to go forever or it's going to end from some other ways. I don't know. There's just something else when I grasp it. It's an 8. I have a lot of fun with it.
Wow.
I like the combinations of cards. I know you don't like it as much, probably.
I'm giving it a 6. I think it's fine. Again, I feel like the gorgeous artwork, the amazing card quality, those things are good. Especially the card quality is excellent. I'm glad that's there. The artwork and the theme, I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't get it. I just don't get it. It's a table hog, like I said. I think being the player who plays left to right is easier than being the player that plays bottom to top. I just find that to be visually more pleasing and a little easier to do, I think. There being sort of disparate pieces of card chunks everywhere, and you're linking them together. I guess I just don't find this game to be... While it is pretty, artwork is pretty, I don't find it to be visually pleasing. It's just I feel like I'm putting together this messy jigsaw a little bit. It's not one I would pass up if somebody wanted to play. I'd be like, yeah, all right, I'll give it a go. And it's an interesting deck, this reverse deck the whole way through. That's cool. But it also didn't captivate me. So, yeah, 6 for me.
Well, there you go, folks. That is Tether. Tether, Confusing Lands, and Sirens. 3 different games. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel.
I'm Zee Garcia.
We're still playing together. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.